The next step is to paint the mirror. You definitely don't want to get paint on the table, so put down plenty of newspapers. A lot of students don't spread their newspapers out over a large enough area, and they end up spilling paint on the table anyway. Since we have plenty of newspaper, they don't cost us anything. Unfold it so that it's nice and big. Spread it out so it completely covers the area where you're painting. Then you can set your project in the middle of it. You'll want to pour some paint into a cap. You should have been issued a Gatorade cap or similar at the start of the semester. And you can set that, make sure it's on your newspaper. There's no sense in having it like, way over here, because every time you go to get some paint, you're going to be dripping it and possibly getting it on the table. So you can have that close to where you're working. Just take your paintbrush and make sure that you select an appropriate size brush. Something like this probably is way too big. You want to keep the paint mostly on the areas where the sandblasting is. Now later on you're going to be putting your name and the date on the mirror, and if you slop the paint everywhere and use up all your empty space, you won't have much room to write your name and date, and that could create a problem. Now it's best to use thin layers of paint. You don't want to just glob it on thick. I know that's tempting because you want to get it done as soon as possible, but the problem with that is it actually will show on the other side where it's thicker than other places. So you want a nice even coat. And it dries a lot faster if you do a thin layer first, and then each layer builds up. So it's better to do 3 to 4 thin layers, and it'll look nice and even when you're done, rather than have one big sloppy layer that ends up cracking because the paint was put on too thick. If you're pouring some new paint, then make sure you're doing it over the newspapers so you don't end up dripping on the table. And use a small amount. No sense in wasting it. You can always get more if you need to. "24 hours later, it's important to try to stay within the lines as much as possible. You don't want to just slop it all over the back. It's okay if you just go barely outside the lines, but you want it to look nice when you're done. Yeah, some people think you don't look at the back, but you never know. Someone might take it off the wall and they're going to see that you've put your name on it and that you did a nice job. "24 hours later, after you've done 3 thick coats, then you can turn it over and take a look and see if you've done an adequate job. Very gently try to peel off the protective transfer paper that you put on the front. You may have to put it back, so try not to tear it. Look closely to see if there's any spots you obviously missed. I like to put it up towards the light so I can see through it. There's some places like by the S right here where you can actually kind of see through where there's some light showing. So I'm going to have to go over a couple of these areas where it's too light.